Welcome to the Girls Marketing Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing and the perfect backing track to your workday. Every week, we get up close and personal with marketers revolutionising the industry so you can learn from the best in the game. From the latest marketing trends to building a successful marketing career, no topic is off limits. At Girls in Marketing, we champion progress, inspire change, and encourage women to take the marketing world by storm. Check out our website and membership to learn more and get involved, as we'd love to welcome you to our inner circle. Right, let's dive into another episode together. Welcome back to another episode of the Girls in Marketing podcast. Today, we're going to be reacting to your marketing confessions. The story behind this is back in March, we had an event called Inspiring Creativity. And at the event, we had a box that people put their confessions into. So Kira has collated the confessions and we're going to be reacting to them today. So you're the only person who's seen these. Yes. So none of us have. So very excited to react to the marketing confessions.
Yeah. So yeah, like you said, these are from our community. I'm really excited to see everyone's reactions to this. I will put a disclaimer in. One of these is mine. So if you can guess it.
Oh, bonus points for guessing.
That's a bonus. Okay, so the first one is, I'll read them and then we can say whether we've done them or react to them.
Okay.
First one, I've got a job in social media marketing with no education and very little experience. And even though it's going great, I have major imposter syndrome. I feel like that's such a common one in marketing, especially in social media when you're constantly on social media to kind of do your job as well. And then the comparison kind of gets into your head. I think it's so easy to compare yourself and deal with imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like you still deal with imposter syndrome now in your career?
I think that anybody who says that they don't at sometimes doubt their own ability or feel like they're a little bit out of their depth at some point in their career, one, is probably not telling the truth, and two, potentially isn't really pushing themselves very much. Mm-hmm. And that's not necessarily always a bad thing. You know, not everybody wants to do that. But I think it's a natural part of progressing in your career and working in an industry that's always evolving. I think if at some point you don't feel a little bit of an imposter or a little bit out of your depth, when things are always changing so much, then I don't think it's likely working in marketing. So I think it probably will be a common one.
Yeah, I think sometimes imposter syndrome is like that kind of symbol for me that I am pushing myself out of that comfort zone, and it's an indicator that I am progressing. So it almost sometimes is nice to see it as like a positive than a negative.
Yeah, I recently listened to an episode of The Diary of a CEO with Jimmy Carr, and he basically talks about imposter syndrome. Now, I know obviously it's coming from the perspective of a man who is quite privileged, and also he's white as well. So again, another privilege. But he said he thinks imposter syndrome is a good thing because, as you guys have kind of said, you're constantly pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. And he said in order to level up to that next level of, I don't know, whatever it is, anything that you're doing, getting that next opportunity, progressing in your career, whatever it is, imposter syndrome, you've got to feel it because that shows that you are progressing. So he was kind of saying it's a good thing. So whilst it doesn't necessarily feel like a good feeling because you feel like out of your depth, not really sure kind of what you're doing, it's actually a good thing because it shows that growth element. So I really love that because I've heard a few people talk about imposter syndrome and say, oh, it doesn't exist, or it's just basically anxiety and all of this sort of thing. But I actually feel like, if you are at the point where you are, so with this person, they've got their first job in marketing, amazing. Someone has that ability to get a job. You're in that job. Someone believes in you enough to give you that job. At least take that, even if you do still feel like an imposter. Yeah. The fact is you've got to that point now and someone believes in you enough to help you get to that point. So yeah, I just say it's a good thing, as much as obviously the feeling of it isn't necessarily great.
Always feel great, yeah. And that's the thing, like they've said there, it's going great. So they know it's going great. Yeah. It's just that internalized feeling, isn't it, I guess?
I think sometimes as well, when you do feel imposter syndrome, it's a good time to reflect on if there's any way that you could approach your manager or anything for training opportunities and stuff as well. I think sometimes it's a sign that maybe there's something that you could benefit from a training perspective too. So maybe they could think of it in that sense, is there something that they could ask for more support on?
Yeah, and kind of flip it around.
And use it as a signal that they might benefit from that as well.
Yeah.
Do you have that burning desire to create a website for a new idea but don't have any coding experience? Don't worry, I've got you. Hostinger is a sponsor of today's episode, and they have created an AI website builder tool allowing anyone who wants to take their idea online to do so with zero coding skills. Just write 3 sentences to sum up what you're looking for, and Hostinger does the rest. The AI even offers personalized suggestions on layout, design, and content. Bring your new idea to life by heading to hostinger.com/girlsinmarketing and use the exclusive code girlsinmarketing for 10% off your plan. What's stopping you?
Okay, the next confession isn't mine, but it could be. It's quite fitting. I consider scrolling on TikTok work.
Okay. I mean,
No comment.
I feel like it's just #relatable.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like that's just the case, isn't it?
And I feel like most of the time it is.
Yeah.
Because
Is it?
you're doing research.
Yeah, depends on your role and stuff,
Yeah.
doesn't it? I definitely don't feel like I'm working or productive when I'm scrolling on social media or TikTok, but that's because I guess it doesn't necessarily always directly translate for me. I always feel like so much worse when I come out of a TikTok scrolling rut, but that's me personally. But I think it relates to your role then.
Yeah.
You are doing some trend research and all that stuff, aren't you?
That's
I
what I'll
agree.
tell myself.
I think mine is the same as yours, Amy. Like,
Yeah.
I do go on it for certain things. If I'm doing like research for a blog post or email or things like that, I'll go into TikTok or Instagram to search for specific things or like a link. But other than that, I try to just stay away from it during work hours and outside as well to reduce the screen time, I'd say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like when you're on TikTok, it depends what your algorithm is. Like,
Yeah.
if you've got like an account that's maybe more work focused, then probably it would be more productive than like my account. I mean, I just
Personal,
wouldn't be. It's like people talking about clothes, like people talking like funny things. It's not going to be productive for me. So I feel like if you've got an account that, if you're on like your work account or you've got more of a professional account, potentially it would be more productive because then you're scrolling and you're seeing those trends. Whereas I know full well I would never see a trend that would be beneficial. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it would be, but like most of the time I wouldn't, because your algorithm changes all the time as well, doesn't it? So
Yeah.
I think I get it, but I don't know if I do personally. But you can tell yourself that. I feel like that's
This one is, I once posted on my brand's close friends instead of my own. This on Instagram.
I feel like that's
Orkies.
yours. Is that yours?
It's mine.
Is it?
Yeah.
What's the brand's close friends? Is that a thing?
No, so it's
who's
like
on
a close friend story. Do you know what a close friend story is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, who would be
Just checking for the millennial in the room.
No, but who would be on like the
Well, this
brand's
is the
close
thing.
friends?
So if you go to post on a brand's close friend story that doesn't have a close friend story, it says you can do this as long as you add people. So it kind of gives you a warning beforehand, which it did in my case. So I was like, oh yeah, that's not going on there.
So you didn't actually post
Yeah,
it?
no.
Oh, okay, right.
Okay.
Well,
So
it's
slightly fake confession.
No, I think that's valid. But yeah, it doesn't. It like pre-warns you. But I guess if you do have a brand's close friends Instagram,
I mean, what do you feel about having a brand's close friends? Like, how would you use that to your advantage? What would that look like?
Billie Eilish has just done it recently last week. She added I think it was 100 million plus Instagram followers to her close friends, and she was teasing snippets of her new album on there, and that coincided with billboards and out of homes that also teased it, and fans were like, oh, is that lyrics? So she got, I think, I'm sure she got
5 million.
like 5 million new followers in 2 days. It was something crazy. So she's used that as a growth strategy, I think, really.
Wow. So,
Yeah.
and how, I don't know if you know this, but how did she determine who was on the close friends?
She just
list?
put every follower on her. Every follower.
How would you do that? Like,
it's a bulk, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Must be. I mean, I don't. Yeah,
No
you
one's
couldn't sit
sitting
there and
there.
do that.
Unless
How
that's
many?
what her social team decided to do.
this is your task for the week. Every single
Yeah, for the next however many weeks.
Oh my god, literally.
I did see that though.
Mm.
I did see that, and I thought it was interesting. And I think because obviously Instagram brought out that groups like feature. I can't remember what it's called.
Broadcast.
Broadcast.
Yeah.
That's it. And I feel like that's really interesting. But I don't know if people are really like massively on board with that.
That was
So-
huge at first, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then it's
Yeah.
kind of like gone
I
down.
think it's a little bit
so
like
annoying.
Threads, isn't it?
Yeah.
I feel like it came out like a sort of similar time, and I don't really know how much obviously I know Threads is more sort of like Twitter or X, but there was a lot happening, wasn't there? And everyone jumping on it. And it's like, how long do these things sort of stay relevant for?
But that's the thing, because I said that at the time when they brought out the broadcast channels, like everyone was like loving it. And like, so was I, to be fair. But and then it's like social media's, we've always said like social media is supposed to be this two-way conversation. And then you come out and bring broadcast channels, which is literally broadcasting at your audience. And like, it's like, oh, leave a reaction, but that it limits it, doesn't it? Like why would you just choose to broadcast rather than encouraging like a two-way conversation and it being like comment on this? Because I feel like half the time the broadcast that I'm in anyway is trying to get that engagement outside of the broadcast. So it's
so you're trying to get them into your broadcast to then send them elsewhere anyway.
Yeah.
Or a lot I follow put their discount codes in. So
that's true.
Yeah.
It's kind of like push notifications, isn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously more social. But interesting, because I do definitely agree. I don't know how relevant this is to the confession, but Stephen Bartlett has one for Diary of a CEO, and sometimes I quite like the way that they do guess like the emoji, and then you have to like react to the emoji that's on the piece of paper, like you can't see it, and then that kind of encourages more community, not necessarily like obviously that two-way conversation, but it's definitely more community than just kind of like sending out bulk, you know, discount codes and stuff. So I do think that there's space for it, but it'd be interesting to see how brands potentially start using close friends, especially thinking about the Billie Eilish stuff. Like, are brands going to start leveraging that more? And if so, like, why and how? Because I definitely think it helps to facilitate community, but 100%. What would you post on close friends versus not on close friends?
And what would that make a follower feel like being on because a brand, like obviously Billie Eilish is a brand in that she's like celebrity, but like from like a brand, like an e-commerce brand or something like that. What would that as a follower make you feel to be on that brand's close friends list? Like would there be any like rationale behind why you were on it? Would you be sort of thinking, okay, like I'm one of their like most engaged followers, or like what does this mean for me? Do you know what I mean? Like I wonder what that would kind of like.
It's interesting that you say that though, because after Billie Eilish, like fans realised that they were on the close friends, people were then disappointed when they realised that everyone was on it.
Yeah.
Because
so
then it
does
didn't
it have a
feel
negative effect?
as special. I mean, it did work for the growth. Like as Kira said, she grew like 5 million followers, and it was ahead of the album
feel a bit
release.
Tricked, like, oh, you know, she's picked me to be on this thing, and then actually everybody got on it, so I'm not that special. Maybe.
Okay, I don't know what I'm actually doing. I am just passionate and enthusiastic. I feel like that's a bit similar to the first one. I feel like, especially when you're in the start of your career, to be fair, any time of your career you can feel like that, but I think especially it's more prominent when you're at the start of your career. You can feel like, where am I? What am I doing? I don't know where I want to go. Like it is a hard thing to navigate.
Yeah, but I feel like having that passion is key, really.
Yeah, 100%.
The fact that confession says, I don't know what I'm doing, but I feel passionate about it. Like, for me, that's enough, because that shows that you're willing to, you know, you're eager to learn and you want to continue because you do feel passionate about it. So I think if you do that, like, you know, it's a good place to be. Yeah.
I think of my client whilst I box extra motivation.
Ooh. That's quite heavy. Oh no, that's quite bad.
I feel like you obviously, you know, if you are sort of client facing and like you work like agency side or something like that, you're not always gonna love the clients you work with. And I think if you work for an agency and you don't necessarily get to decide which clients you work with specifically, then that is what it is. But if you're choosing to work with this client and then thinking about them while you're boxing, like maybe think about, are they the right client for you? Like if it's really not that good of a fit, I don't know. That's a difficult one.
Yeah.
And the client being the punching bag, I'm guessing.
I would.
Like, I don't know, maybe we can take it as like the boxing, the thinking I'm keeping fit just like my client.
I'm going to throw some hard punches like the success I'm going to get for my client.
Like, or maybe the client's really good at boxing.
And then they're trying to channel
maybe a client is like, maybe
I really want to do the same uppercut as my client.
Or I just want to do an
terminology.
Uppercut to my client,
Someone's put Leeds is not a brand metric.
Interesting. I don't think I agree with that. Like, I don't know. I also don't feel like that's much of a confession.
A personal
it's more
confession.
Of a, I mean, it's a powerful statement, but it's more of a statement.
That's it. Yeah.
I think, especially from like a B2B perspective, when you work in marketing, I know that it is difficult because obviously there's so many metrics, like in general, in sales and marketing. But I think, unfortunately, the key thing really especially with B2B, is like the ROI of marketing a lot of the time, and leads is a huge part of that. I don't necessarily think it's the be all end all. Like there's definitely so much room for other metrics as well. But the fact that they said it's not, what was it? Not a relevant?
Not a brand metric.
Not a brand metric, but maybe then, because I feel like I took it as just not a metric, but I kind of understand leads not being a brand metric, because I don't feel like you can really tell much from your sales being.
Yeah, and I think it depends how you quantify leads as well, doesn't it? Like how accurately you measure them and how you quantify like how strong they are and stuff. But yeah, maybe a brand metric. Not so much.
Yeah,
that's a difficult. It's so dependent on the brand, isn't it? It's so dependent on what your objectives are as a brand. So I wouldn't say it's like categorically not a metric.
Yeah,
I think we maybe need a bit more context on that one.
Yeah.
Well, it is anonymous, so
Yeah.
maybe the person who wrote that can write into us.
Write in. Send us a letter.
In the 1900s. I purposely work with brands and events I'm interested in and love for personal gain.
That's nice. I feel like,
You've got to love what you do.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a nice thing.
Yeah.
Lovely confession.
Yeah,
we like that one.
As opposed to boxing your client.
This one's more of a question, I guess. This says, how to deal with my boss who keeps taking credit for my creative ideas.
No, I actually hate this though. This is like, this really bit like gets that fire going in me, because I feel like this is such the case for so many people. Yeah. I chat to a lot of people one-on-one within our Girls in Marketing membership, and tons of them always have this problem. And I think that it's something that it's hard, because it's like, obviously you can't really do anything about it in terms of they potentially will still take credit. But I was chatting to someone the other day actually, and they were saying, I've started saying in meetings now when it is my idea. And I was like, that's brave.
Yeah.
I really respect that. I've been in that position before, and I haven't said anything where someone's took credit for your work. But actually, like, it's a lot to be able to sit in a meeting room of people or in a boardroom or whatever and say, you've taken credit for my idea or something like that. So I think this is quite a bit of a hard one, but I think something that I would do, that I have done, is just kind of pull someone away, whoever it is, separately if you can, and just like chat to them about it and say, I really, the stuff that I've brought to you, like, I'm really hoping that I can take the lead with this. Like, I'd really appreciate it if you supported me on this, and we can kind of like take it together, rather than just kind of like obviously them going off and taking it by themselves. I feel like if it has got to the point where they've already maybe pitched it upwards to potentially like another person, it's kind of like the boat sailed a little bit, unless you are brave enough to stand up or, say that in a meeting. It's a really, really difficult one, but it does happen quite a lot, especially for people who are more junior in their career.
I think I definitely agree with that. I think it's something that's quite difficult to navigate, especially if you are junior. I think another thing that I'd say you can do, if you feel comfortable, is talk quite openly to other people within your team and within your organisation about the things that you're working on and the ideas that you've had as well. Because just because your boss won't necessarily give you the credit for your ideas doesn't mean that, okay, if you're in the room, you might say like, oh yeah, that was my idea, but you're not always going to be in the room where these things are floated. So you may find that there will be other people who will be in that room who'll say, oh yeah, that was such and such's idea, wasn't it? Oh yeah, that's a great thing that they've come up with. Like, I know, for example, that I would always do that. If I knew that I was in a room with someone who was not giving someone the due credit for something, I'd throw their name in and say, oh yeah, you've been working with such and such on that, haven't you? Yeah, I think they came up with that. So the more people that you can tell about your ideas as well, you might have, I don't know, other allies who'd be willing to speak up on your behalf, because obviously there are a lot of people that would do that. But it's a difficult one. I think the more that you can build up that confidence and shout about your own ideas, it makes it more difficult for people to take them from you. But it happens a lot, doesn't it? Like you said, Liv, and it's not nice.
Yeah, no, 100%. We've got a few more. It's quite popular, this box, actually. I was impressed. This is a good one. I bought a Dyson Airwrap on the company credit card by accident I paid it back.
Oh, okay.
They paid it back, so it's okay.
Oh, right.
But
Okay.
I feel
no.
like this, when I was thinking of confessions for the community, this is the kind of confessions that I wanted, like the juicy ones.
A Dyson Airwrap is not cheap either.
I
would
would have
imagine
an
trying to
existential
explain that.
crisis.
Oh no.
No.
Imagine that realization when you've got the confirmation email and you can see that it's on the company credit card. That's why you don't save company credit cards as well.
Yeah.
That's a lesson learned.
I mean, I don't really have anything to say other than like it's
Wow.
juicy and I love it. But yeah, I mean, they pay them back, so.
Yeah, I feel like that's a good thing. I'd be interested to know, again, we don't know because it's anonymous, but how like that situation was dealt with.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if it was me, I'd just be like, haha, like, oh God, like, let's just
Yeah.
sort something out. Whereas, I mean, it could have been like quite bad potentially.
yeah, you don't know how
'cause it
big the
is-
company is.
Exactly. Like, I feel like if it's a bigger company, there's going to be like more procedures in place.
Yeah.
Or if it's a smaller one, I mean, I don't know. It could have been like quite bad. Like they could have took them under. Like if they didn't have much cash flow. Imagine if the company only had like a few £100. I mean, that'd be not a great company, but like a few £100 in the bank, and then it's like a Buzz Dyson Airwrap. Oh my gosh, we've got £0 in the company
Yeah.
bank.
They'd all have good
no.
hair though,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, true.
You'd have to share it out in the office.
Yeah.
It'd have to be a communal Dyson
Yeah,
Airwrap.
yeah, install it in the office.
Someone said, when I'm lazy, I write the same copy on all platforms.
I mean, I feel like everyone's probably done it at some point, haven't they? And I think
Yeah.
it depends how stretched you are in your role.
Yeah.
And like how much work's put on you. Like it happens, doesn't it? It's just unfortunate if it gets to that point that you are
Yeah,
stretched
I think
to having to do that.
yeah, it's definitely like a matter of like prioritization, isn't it? Like if your social presence isn't like the focus for that quarter, or like depends on what your objectives are and your focuses are, doesn't it? As like a company, so I guess
When they said platforms, do you think that they're just kind of referring to social platforms rather than just general?
that's what
copy?
I took from
Yeah.
it, because I think that's when it's not as a big deal. Whereas I think like if it's obviously like email and like blog, I guess.
Yeah, if they're just writing like
if they're
social
just a
captions
blog
on their
it.
emails, it'd
Yeah.
be like, okay, this is an issue.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's like social. So I think it doesn't matter that much if you're not like trying to like consistently grow. But and then I do always think in that like writing 4 pieces of copy, or like writing the same copy for all 4 platforms, let's say, that's just like very much gives me like quantity over quality.
Yeah.
Like I think very much in social it's a matter of choosing your platforms wisely, choosing where your audiences are, and then going from there. Whereas
Yeah.
I think if you're just trying to show up on every single social media platform all the time just for the
Yeah.
sake of it, like it just doesn't hit anyway. So and then the copy that you're writing on there isn't gonna hit anyway. So
Yeah,
It's-
I agree with that, but I think sometimes it's like a capacity thing. And if someone's being
100%.
told by like a manager, like, oh no, we've got to be on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Twitter /X, like, I think if they've been told that, then if
Yeah.
it's like the only option, I do understand that.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, sometimes you'll think, oh yeah, like I'd love to be able to only choose like this platform and this platform, but if you've been told you've got to be on like all of these channels,
Yeah.
obviously you can kind of take the steps to say, no, I think we should focus and all of that. But at the end of the day, if the say is final, then sometimes it's just a capacity thing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a lot less effort to create one caption for all 4 platforms than create something that kind of adheres to all of them.
Yeah.
But what I would say to that is like maybe if you do that to, potentially change the CTA a little bit, or some like mix it up a little bit so
Yeah.
that it's not the exact same, because then you are kind of still producing like different types of copy, especially like with links and Instagram captions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like sometimes it's good to have something a little bit different,
Yeah.
even if it's still the same, or sometimes like a different kind of hook, because that might work better.
for different platforms.
Because
Yeah.
I think that confession did it say when I'm feeling lazy.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, true.
So I mean, yeah, it might be a capacity thing, or it might be that like questioning like why are you feeling lazy, because potentially they are just told you have to post this on this many channels, so they don't feel motivated to do anything creative because they're quite restricted. So that could be it, couldn't it?
Yeah.
Hiring my first team member was both exciting and daunting. It marked a shift from being a solo entrepreneur to an employer. And with that shift came new responsibilities, especially understanding the importance of employers' liability insurance. So, what exactly is employers' liability insurance? In simple terms, it's a legal requirement for UK businesses that have employees. This insurance protects your business if an employee gets injured or becomes ill because of the work they do for you. When I hired my first team member, I knew I was responsible for their well-being at work, and that's a big responsibility. Employers' liability insurance was not just a legal necessity, it became my peace of mind, ensuring that my team and my business were protected. Kingsbridge Insurance is a sponsor of today's episode, and they understand the unique challenges that we face when businesses grow. The employer's liability insurance is specifically designed for small businesses and startups. If you're at that exciting stage of hiring your first employee or planning to expand your team, I encourage you to learn more about employer's liability insurance. You can find out more about the packages Kingsbridge offer by visiting their website, kingsbridge.co.uk. Now, let's dive back into the episode.
We call a client Sadness because she looks/acts like the character from Inside Out.
Oh no. Ooh. I feel like a few of these like negative ones are about clients, I'm not gonna lie.
Aww. Yeah, I very much get like agency client, like the people who are writing these confessions aren't choosing the clients, so they're just trying to, I guess, make the best out of her.
I mean, I hope she's okay.
I know.
Like,
I feel for her, poor Sadness.
She, he, they are. I hope they're okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's not much to say to that confession.
No.
We hope you're okay.
Yeah, and maybe if you were the one who wrote it, like, maybe like see if they want to go for a coffee, ask them if they're all right, like dig a bit deeper into the sadness element.
This one says, got sued by a huge holiday brand for accidentally creating a carbon copy of their brand mascot. Ooh.
Hawkies.
Oh, my brain's going overtime trying to think of
Yeah.
what the mascot's
Who it could be.
Yeah.
I can't think of any holiday mascots.
I feel like
hard,
IP and like copying and stuff like that is a big thing,
Yeah.
and I think that a lot of people do fall into that trap sometimes, because I feel like there's been a lot of almost like scandals, if you will, about like things, people copying different brands and stuff like that, and especially I think looking into like trademarks and looking into like IP and stuff like that before you do, especially big campaigns, is so important. Like, and it's something that, to be honest, like I haven't always done, but it's something that I know is huge at the moment because, and we've said this on the podcast before, consumers are so aware, and also, I mean, other businesses are really aware as well, that the fact that that kind of mascot's been copied, and I mean, it probably hasn't even been like carbon copied, it's probably like there's aspects of it, and because they've got it trademarked or something like that, it's like, you know, we're gonna sue you, because I hear of loads of brands getting like cease and desist letters as well,
and
because they've done something.
even if there are small brands, sometimes the giants, the big players, like they just have these blanket things, and it almost they don't really care. Like it's just like that's too similar to ours.
Yeah.
So I think
Scale
it's
off.
unfortunately it's on you as a brand, even if you're smaller, to do that background check. Yeah.
That gives me like Colin and Cuthbert vibes from M&S and Aldi, because I feel like that happened. It's similar. Obviously, it's not the same because it's not necessarily a mascot, but you know, Colin is like a key lovely cake from M&S, and then Aldi was just like, yeah, we're gonna copy it, and then it was like a whole thing. That gives me like similar vibes.
Aldi are very like known for that though, aren't they? I feel like their like legal team have to like just be on it, because like they make sure they get it just right, that you know, like everyone knows what it is.
I feel
but
like
they
that
get it
legal
right
team
enough.
must just be like from one day to the next, oh God, what are we going to have to deal with? What are we going to deal with on the back foot constantly? Like, what are we dealing with?
They're constantly releasing dupes. I'm like, how do you even get away with that? Like, fair enough, fair play to them. But I'm like, because there's like Sol de Janeiro dupes at the moment, like people talking about them. I'm like, how do you even get away with it?
Then there's some where they do like collabs, don't they? Because they did like, they had those IPA drinks, didn't they? And then didn't they do like an Aldi Brewdog like collab? So sometimes I feel like it works to their advantage. Like they do work with brands, don't they? But yeah, it must be like an absolute minefield.
Interesting though, because their dupes are doing really well, but one of their Christmas ads from last year, a print ad's just been banned by the ISA, and it had complaints from other like supermarkets because it claimed that they were like the cheapest, I think, Christmas dinner, and it wasn't. So it depends. I think a lot of them are out for each other. It's just happened with Nationwide as well. Their ads that have been taken down from last year with Dominic Cooper because they claimed that they weren't shutting branches, but they were. So I think everyone's got their eyes. They're all watching. Everyone's got their eyes on everything.
Yeah, you've got to be true to your word. Yeah. And the last confession is I force my friends/family to like my brand posts. Everyone's
So
done
this
that,
isn't my confession, right? But a shout out to my nan, because one time, I would say about maybe 8 years ago, I said to her when it was like, you know, just on Facebook and whatever, I was like, you know, every post that you see of my nan, like, please like. So she's took that as like gospel, and every single post, including brand stuff, like girls in marketing stuff, she'll like all the time. Even stories, I see it. So shout out to my nan. This isn't my confession, but I feel like
It could be.
it could be, because so I just feel like it's such a nice, it's such a nice
It's
thing,
a nice support.
but I feel like forcing is a bit strong. I just once said to her, and she took that as gospel ever since.
I think it's nice. I think a lot of people do that, especially if they work in social and they're like quite new to a role and they want to really make a mark and like make a difference. It's almost like while they're finding their feet and stuff like that, they, you know, you want to get support from anyone that you can. And I think it's nice
100%.
and so lovely if they have friends and family that are willing to like keep an eye out for whatever brand it is, probably a brand that they're not in the slightest bit interested in. But
it reminds me actually this is such a random story, but when I first started out in marketing, I did social media for a dementia charity. I was like volunteering. And I put in our friends group chat, I was like, can everyone please follow this dementia charity on Instagram?
and then did you look at your
and then I looked
insights?
at like the stats at the end of the month, and it was like, oh, my friendship group. And I was like, our age demographic's gone down.
Yeah, you're in your insights demographics, like your friends who are like 17.
Yeah, I was like, we're really appealing to them younger audiences now I come in. So yeah, I think it is a good thing. I think it's nice to see that people support, and it's at the end of the day, support like on social media, it's free, isn't it? So it all helps.
That's true. Well, there were some lovely confessions, also some quite savage confessions as well. But if you guys want to get involved in more confessions, we are going to be announcing lots of exciting things coming soon, including different events and programs that we're going to be doing across the year. So definitely go to our website, follow us on social media, and just do all that lovely stuff, because we've got lots of exciting stuff coming. And that's a wrap on another team episode. Before you forget, we'd love to make this a two-way conversation. Feel free to share your opinions on this episode with us on social media by tagging Girls in Marketing. If you did enjoy listening to our team chat about marketing, please follow and leave a review of the podcast so we can continue to grow and share more episodes like this one. Your support really does go a long way. We'll be back next week with another amazing episode, but until then, join in the conversation on social media. See you next week.